All right. Hello, everybody. It is July 4th, 2022. We're inside of the Sirian Gateway at the moment. I would love to hear how you guys are feeling today. Um, Energies are quite wild. This is going to be a preparation slash training call for our Gridwork mission tomorrow. And there's quite a bit of stuff that we want to get through today. So let's just dive right on in. April feels fantastic. I'm so happy to hear that. Okay, so the first thing that I want to say is that it feels like it's gonna be really beautiful. I know that there's a lot of all sorts of information flying around out there. I know that CERN has been doing weird stuff for a long time, and obviously in the past, they were trying all sorts of stuff to raise demons and open wormholes and all sorts of things like that. And it's really just feeling like even though they're trying really hard, obviously with the release of these very demonic TV shows like Stranger Things and Euphoria and other movies that are very reflective of their desired timelines, even though they're trying really hard to pull those timelines into reality, it really doesn't feel like there's much momentum behind what they're trying to do because the light on the earth and all of our presence is just not anything that they were able to account for. And also, the light is just it feels like the light quotient on the planet is just way too high for them to really sway the timelines in a significant way. And so, more and more, as I'm feeling into this alignment, which I've been doing pretty much consistently for the last few days, the more I'm tuning into it, the more I'm feeling into it, the more it's feeling like we're really going to be able to actually use this opportunity in a really good way, right? Because they're going to use this technology. They're trying to bend space time. We're trying to bend space time too. So it's almost like we can kind of join forces in a way. I mean, we don't need technology like that to bend space and time. But when they're trying to use this technology in a way to bend space time in a negative way, it really just feels like we're going to literally usurp and hijack their intent. And it feels good. It doesn't feel scary. It doesn't feel like some big battle. It just feels like very celebratory and energy. Now, every time the Sirian alignment happens, it feels like a very celebratory energy. I was born during this alignment on July 6th, so it's almost my birthday. But coming in through this gateway, I feel like the high Sirian energy right now feels very festive, feels very celebratory, feels like it's going to be easy, feels like we're calling together. It's like, oh, look, they set up a party for us. They set up this timeline coordinate for us to gather and blast open our light and literally just hijack this technology, whatever it is that they're trying to do. And as they're trying to pull humanity into a negative timeline, we're trying to pull humanity into a positive timeline, and there's really no fighting, there's no battle. Like, God has already willed the highest timeline into existence, and that's what we're experiencing right now. That is what is unfolding right in front of our very eyes. And so today's call, we're going to address any lingering fear that and anxiety, uncertainty that people might be feeling in the field. Of course, you're not forced to participate in this in any way. If you don't feel comfortable with participating, just don't, right? Don't participate. If it doesn't resonate with you, you don't have to show up. It doesn't, maybe some people are meant to just walk around outside and be yourself, connect to source. You don't need to be watching this live stream with us together. Now, I have no idea how long the call is actually going to be tomorrow because they're live streaming it on their end. They didn't write any itinerary or anything on their post. So all it says is that the call starts at 10 a.m. Eastern time or 4 p.m. Central European time. So yeah, I have little information logistically beyond that. I'm just going to be opening the Zoom room and I'll be. Here's my baby. Oh, hang on. Hang on one second. I gotta go find my baby. How dare you talk about grid work without me? Sorry, baby. You can come. You can come. You can come. So that would actually be 7 a.m. PST. Yeah. So the call starts at 30 minutes before because I don't know what exactly is going to be happening on that call. So we just want to gather a little bit earlier. We're going to do some meditations together. You're happy now? Yeah, and we're gonna, do some praying. We'll just share the light and read. If you got poetry, if you got light language, we're gonna just share together for, 30 minutes beforehand. I don't think it's gonna start right away. I have no idea what's gonna happen. Um, but yeah, so okay, okay, it's baby, it's baby, okay. Will it be recorded? So, that's a good question. I haven't made it that far. I guess I haven't thought about it. I guess it could be recorded. I don't know. Let me think about it. Do you think I should record it? Oh. Hang on, let's see. Hang on. Can you guys still hear me? My Zoom said that I was logged out. So, hang on. Okay, that's good. All right, so it seems like people want to have it recorded, so I can always record it. Somebody said I can always delete it afterwards. Okay. Okay, come here. All right. Uno momento. Okay. Okay, baby. All right. Couple of things. So I know that a lot of people have been feeling dizzy lately, almost like this dehydration feeling. That's been a really big ascension symptom. It's not an ascension symptom, but drowsiness and extreme fatigue has been another common experience that people are having. And it's almost like grounding is really hard because there's some sort of static field on the earth and it makes you dizzy and it feels like you can't stand in a very stable way. And one of the light workers shared these downloads that she got this morning, tuning into the CERN technology, and about how beyond just smashing particles together, they're also opening up the portals to the antichristic realms. They're also basically continuing the tilting, the distortions in the tilt of the earth. And this is very significant because the way that I have seen this in the past in relation to grid work is that there is a distortion in the light fields of the earth and how it's aligned to source. So there's like a distortion in the fabric of the interdimensional field systems. And when this distortion is here, it's almost like source energy can't flow and nourish into the physical realms completely, right? And those that are in the EarthStar Academy, we've been talking about, our dimensions 1, 2, and 3 energy and how the higher energies are meant to incarnate into matter, into the density 1, 2, and 3 energies, which is the way that we actually kind of reclaim this realm and restore all the distortions on all dimensions, which is what we're doing here. That is the key in the Starseed mission, is that we're here to restore all dimensionalities of this fabric of universal consciousness. And so there's these fallen and distorted strands or domains in the collective consciousness, and it feels like the Earth's tilt is holding some of those distortions in place. And so that would make sense if this technology was also perpetuating the distortions in that tilt. And that is why we're feeling like this difficulty in grounding, because these technologies are being used to basically, it's almost like a snow globe. When the snow globe is being shaped and we're inside of the snow globe, it's like this discombobulating sensation. So we're not able to ground in fully. And if we're not grounded fully, then we're not able to be as effective in our transmission or transduction of higher dimensional energy into this realm. And so, as part of this training and this preparation today, we're going to be aligning our soul's axis, and we're going to be landing into we're going to be doing a new sort of grounding technique. I don't know exactly what that is yet because it's going to come through live with the process. But after this process, we should be feeling very grounded and very stable. And this is how we're going to be able to hold that stability in the field. And this is really what the preparation part of this call is that we're going to establish this stable field of energy around this moment in the time-space coordinate. Whew. And that's going to envelop and roll into tomorrow, if that makes sense. Okie dokie. And then just before we dive into that, just a couple of words on any anxiety or fear, because I know that some were feeling this is a major thing that's rolling through the internet these days online, because a lot of people are talking about CERN and talking about, the portals and the demons and all sorts of stuff. And oftentimes, there's different narratives being thrown around, right? Some people are like, the white hats have taken it over, and so they're using it for good now. And this is a narrative that I've heard over and over again, is like, now the white hats are using the vaccines, and now the white hats are using the 5G towers, and now the white hats are we're using these technologies for good. And it's like, I don't know if mass vaccination is anything that could ever be used for good. I mean, what would we be vaccinating people with? Like vitamins? I guess, maybe, possibly saline. It's a little bit out there, it feels like these like agendas where they're like, oh, don't worry, somebody else has already saved the world for you, so you don't have to do anything. Just sit on your ass and wait for the new world to appear before your eyes. And maybe it's true, maybe it is true. Because on the other hand, it does feel like the white hats in this scenario is the galactics, is the G's in that situation where, in the past, when at any time when nuclear missiles are about to be set off, there's military intelligence whistleblowers and disclosure people coming out saying that they'll just mysteriously be turned off, sometimes by UFOs. And mysterious situations like that tell us that we're being looked after by our galactic and cosmic big sisters and brothers. So in that kind of angle, I can see how, this technology is being hijacked, because that's actually what we're doing, what we're being called together to do tomorrow. So I can see that from this angle. But the other narrative then is that, they're have been working on this technology for a long time. They're opening up a portal to hell, and they're going to be bringing in all these demons. And on the one hand, this is not a wrong narrative, because it's absolutely happening, and the energies on Earth has definitely been a little bit intense the last couple of weeks. People are reporting an acceleration in psychic attacks, in these sensations of discombobulation and dizziness, like we've been saying earlier. Kara wants to talk too. I don't know if you guys on Telegram can hear her cooing. Yeah. Okay. And so what I'm trying to say here is that there is a energetic state that we want to slip into. It's the state of mastery, it's a state of connection, it's a state of when we are in absolute connection and integration of our highest self. And that highest self is the part of us that is always in oneness with God, in oneness with source creation. And in that part of us, that is the part of us from which our mission is moving from, right? It's not our head. It's not, oh, well, I think that here's the data that I have, CERN and the cabal and this and that means that, I have to do this thing, but then people were killed in the past, so that means I'm in grave danger. All of these mental processes are the way that the mind can process and understand what's happening. But the mind is not the captain of our ship. Our human mind, our human personality, our human feelings and thoughts, it can't be the absolute driver and the decision maker in our life. The highest captain in our life is our love and our devotion to Source, to God, to our true service to life itself, our true service to creation. And so when we tap into this very pristine, crystal clear, lucid understanding that we are these arms of God, right? We're not the totality of God, because the totality of God can't possibly incarnate into any one thing, because it is all things. So while we can't be the totality of God, we can be a part of God, and we can be an arm of God, and we can be a vessel and an instrument of the highest intelligence that is already intended for heaven on earth. And so in that very split second of God's intention, we know that it's already set forth the process of completion. And that's why people say it's already done, we've already won. But that sometimes without the understanding of time and process and materialization and actualization, when people say it's already done, it often slides them into inaction, into laziness, right? It mind slides them into feeling like, well, we don't have any purpose anymore because, quote unquote, it's already done. So it's already done on a metaphysical level in which God has intended for heaven on earth, for universal completion. And so in that moment, from that beautiful thought of love, we were born onto this earth. The star seeds, the star people, the galactics, we've landed to bring about this prophecy, this original divine intent. And so knowing that that is the force that is behind us, right? We're not fighting this battle as these little human beings that are fighting these other little human beings that has these big technologies and billions of dollars, and it's like, well, what can we do, right? And sometimes you can feel powerless and afraid, like, well, what if I can't see the boogies? Like, what if they attach entities onto me? What if they attack me? And it's like this part of us that has those fears, let us hold them in love and compassion, but also be aware that those parts of us are parts of us that have fallen into separation from our core essence, the true highest soul aspect of ourself that is an absolute union with creation, in which all of the powers of creation is standing behind us and moving with us and moving through us. And when we're in that state of connection with God, with all of creation, knowing that it's all of nature, all of the totality of creation that is intending and moving into this heavenly, heaven on earth, this new reality where love reigns, right? Divine love reigns the earth. Then we start to shift the fabric of our mind, and the fabric of our light body begins to shift in its quality. And you can feel this expansion shifting in the Nahual or Mexican Toltec shamanism. They call it the shifting of the assemblage point, which is basically our point of view, our point of perception, right? We're shifting from that small part of us that perceives ourselves as being separate, as this small little human being that has very limited powers, that have very limited, we perceive as limited money, limited resources. We don't have this giant trillion-dollar machine to bend space and time. And because this little human part of us that spent so long in this forgetting and this separation, all we have to do is shift from that, recognize that we're perceiving reality from that part of us, and shift and transcend into this greater part of our auric body, this greater part of our true self, this part of us that is an absolute connection, that remembers the covenant, this agreement that we made, this act of devotion that we made when we chose to incarnate on earth. Right? This is a sensation that we are all aware of, even if you're not aware of it consciously. As I'm speaking these words, we're feeling this energy together, that excitement, right? Just, this is not something that we do with our mental mind, our thinking mind, right? This is something we do with our feeling body. We, as if we're remembering what we had for breakfast, 5 days ago. It was a long time ago, so we have to reach into our mind, right? So we're remembering what it felt like to hear this beautiful intention and dream that has been intended by creation, this beautiful resolution, this beautiful completion and graduation of earth into a heaven realm, a golden age. And we were so delighted to see that. We were so delighted to know that all of the creatures in this universal time matrix will graduate out of the current state of separation and possible suffering and misery, and finally process and obtain the wisdom and power that we intended to gain from this universal experiment that we've been undergoing. And as we're coming into this completion, we're so thrilled to come to Earth, to ride those waves of creation to the forefront of where this completion was going to happen. And as a soul that, first of all, every soul on the planet right now has a front row seat to this amazing universal moment, right? This moment of completion, this moment of celebration. And not only are you here, you are awake. You are perceiving it with lucidity. You got the popcorn out, you got the front row seats. And that is something that is so exciting, right? So we're shifting the perspective. We're realizing that we're literally walking together side by side with God behind us, in front of us, all around us, all of creation. And when I say God, I'm speaking to the powers of creation itself, the original divine intelligence of source, not any specific, deity, demigod, or anything like that. Right. And so that shift in our awareness then is crystallizing these Christic virtues, right? Because we're essentially restoring the heart star, restoring the fabric of our light body to their optimal and original state. Hi, baby. Oh, you're drooling all over me. You're drooling all over my nice shirt. Good job, baby. Thank you. Thanks, baby. Okay. What about this one? You like this one? You like this one? How about this? Yeah? How about this one? All right, so we're bringing through these, there's a frequency that's moving through the field right now that is kind of almost like awakening and reminding us of these geometries of mastery in our heart and in our aura. And these are the vibrations of courage, faith, divine love, perseverance, and devotion, trust, surrender. And I think that one really strong one that's coming through is absolutely the energy of faith. Right? Faith, love, and courage are the trifecta that is coming through to weave into our heart and our light body today. And so let's just spend a moment and contemplate on this mastery quality of faith. we're remembering that in our highest intended state, when our 12 strands and beyond our DNA is online and we are operating and inside of our vessel as we were intended, right? These vessels that were intended to be a house, a vessel for source consciousness, divine intelligence, to have this experience as a human being in this world. And we're remembering that when we are walking this world, we have the ability to be in union, to feel that union, and to sense that source intelligence flow through our being in a very visceral way. And when we're in that state of union with the greatest force of creation, and that's really the state that we're always meant to be in, right? When we are on this mission, I think what Source wants us to know is that we're not trying to fight things, we're not trying to fix things or figure things out ourselves, right? And part of that is gaining the worthiness that we are fully worthy of infinite love, eternal love, infinite power, all of this support. We are not only worthy of it, but we were created to experience union with that at all times. Right? And there's a very deliberate force in this world that is trying to keep that union with God reality from actualizing itself on a planetary level. And this is why it's called the Antichrist, right? Christ, the Christic path, Christ energy, it means the realization or the materialization of God consciousness, avatar consciousness, Christ consciousness into form. So we have heaven realizing itself on earth into matter, right? This is the path of Christ. And so we have this force then of the anti-Christ, which is basically the anti-life, anti-God, anti-self, multidimensional viral coding. And its objective is to block, that ultimate realization from occurring and from humanity in ever remembering our true inheritance, right? Because as long as it can do that, it has still dominion over this world. Okay? And so, what we're experiencing right now is absolutely something that is very biblical in a sense. Not biblical in the sense that it's in the book. I haven't read Bible, to be honest. I maybe should do it. But what I mean is that there is, this quote unquote battle between heaven and hell, but it's not really a battle, for all the reasons that I just talked about in the first half of this call. It's really just an inevitability because heaven has decreed and intended and imagined the completion of this experiment. And we're just here to fulfill and complete that intent and allow it to realize and materialize, okay, and crystallize into reality. Whew. And so now we're tapping into that energy of mastery, and we're realizing, for real, how Earth has been just the greatest mystery school ever. Right? It's almost like an exam. It's like it's easy to practice mastery precepts in worlds where you're just protected in a mystery school and there's true sacred geometry everywhere, and all of your friends are wizards and you're in Hogwarts and it's beautiful and there's mermaids and it's a beautiful place, our galactic worlds. It's much easier to learn about these things in those worlds, but you place yourself on Earth and it's kind of like an exam, right? Where all of a sudden you don't have that container, and what you do have is the false matrix, and you do have CERN and Hollywood and every sort of distraction on the internet. And it's like, can you still remember the things that you learned? Can you still remember what it feels like to wield the power of creation in the most highest way of um, devotion, humility, reverence, and feel the power in your body and know your absolute worthiness of that power? And so this is kind of the energy of faith, right? Faith is an interesting concept because on the one hand, you will need faith if we're operating absolutely in our human self that has, you know, forgotten what it feels like to be in absolute connection with God, with Source, like we absolutely are at all times. It's this illusion, right? How can we be separate when we're inside of it? How can we be separate from creation when all of the particles in our being and every filament of our consciousness is ever in fractal uniformity with universal self? Right? So our perception of this separation, of being in absolute individuated peace, separate from everything else, this is only a perception, and that's why it's an illusion. Right? But just because it's an illusion doesn't mean that it doesn't affect us, because if we experience ourselves as separate, then that will be the physics of our own hologram of experience. It doesn't have to be true for it to be a true experience for someone whose consciousness is creating that architecture in their reality. Okay, hope that makes sense. And so, in that state, our human self that has been severed from Source, in order for that part of us to reconnect, it has to have faith. Because that part of us, to that part of us, nothing can actually prove to it that this greater self exists besides this inkling of an awareness, of a gnosis, of a remembering, right? It's kind of like when you have a psychic download or something, and even though you have no way of affirming its truth, you just somehow know that is true. Or when somebody tells you something, you just know if they're lying or not, like even though you don't have any physical way or real way of affirming the truth in that. And so, as I'm speaking, I think we can all agree that we have this inkling of a knowing that connection and union, divine union, is true. And so, in order for that human self that has existed in separation to access that union, it needs to call on the energy of faith. And this is when it can feel afraid, it can feel like the demons are going to take over the planet, or you're looking around and you're like, wow, like the humans are really under mind control. They're really in it. How could we turn this around and have heaven on earth? And of course, then there's the absolute refusal to look at it at all. Some people are like, you know what, just don't look at it. The heaven on earth is here. And I think maybe it's in some people's path to not look at it. Unfortunately, I have a soul contract to dissolve certain satanic fields and satanic grids, and so it's not in my life path to ignore it. Unfortunately, I'm a cosmic plumber, and I think some of you are also cosmic plumbers, and that's why you resonate with what we're doing here. But when the little self, when the human self that has been in separation, and we have so much compassion for that part, and that part has compassion for all of humanity because it understands what we have gone through inside of this very real stimulation of separation. We allow this part to come back into union by calling on the energy of faith. And faith is this seed in the heart that blossoms into a remembrance of the magnificence of God. The cosmic love, cosmic power, cosmic beauty of all of creation. And if we don't remember that, if we don't know that, if we have no way of connecting to that, then at least we can allow this tiny seed of faith in our heart to blossom into that remembrance. And so then that leads to this seed of courage. And we can feel that these are literally shapes and geometries of our heart energy, right? Tuning into the heart star, it's almost like there is a holographic shape of this orb of our heart. And the false matrix, what it wants to do is reverse or distort the geometries of our heart so it begins to leak energy. Because when our heart is in its original state, it is a very powerful force. It's like this infinite free energy generator. It's way more powerful than any machine that could possibly be created in this world, right? It's literally this multidimensional generator that is spinning through all dimensionalities of the universal creation, right? And when the heart star is in this original geometry, original shape, we experience these very cosmic sensations, power, wisdom, divine love, courage, joy, infinite creativity, reverence, respect for all of life. And as those energies of the heart begin to expand, this is when we really begin to notice, how this depression, this anxiety, separation, fears, all of these things create almost these holes or these distortions in our heart chakra that make us forget just how powerful this supernova in the center of our being actually is. And it's literally a correction in the rotation or the spin of the heart star. It's a restoration of the original vibratory state of the heart star in its absolute state of union with all of creation. Whew. And so in this space, we're feeling peace, right? It's the peace of God, the peace of divine union, the ultimate fulfillment of Christ. And it's through this portal, this embodied sensation that you're feeling right now, this feeling as it expands, right? And you can feel that there might still be heaviness or tension or even pain and anxiety in the heart. And we can allow this sensation of connection to heal our heart all the way. And we can feel how as we can imagine, if we continue with this practice, how this portal inside of our heart literally becomes the source of our mission, of our life on earth, so long as we allow this connection to literally lead and overtake our life. Then we'll always feel protected, we'll always feel provided for, we'll always feel guided and nourished, right? Because in this space, I mean, when I'm feeling this resonance, it's almost like there's no desire and there's no need. Like we don't need anything outside of this connection. And it's funny, the other day somebody was like, "Hey, do you want to go get ice cream?" I was like, "No, I really prefer the feeling of God." Quinn says, touched by grace. And grace is another beautiful energy, another beautiful seed that blossoms in the heart. Divine grace. Right now we are touching, we're touching the miracle realm. Yeah? Whew. Ice cream can be good once in a while too. Sure, absolutely. It's just I noticed that in the past, I would go for ice cream because I'd be like, oh, it's for the inner child, and then every single time I would literally feel like crap after I eat it. Like I would start falling asleep. I'm like, man, like I feel like shit every time. And then every time somebody's like, hey, you want to go get ice cream? I'm like, yeah, ice cream. So I mean, if you don't, maybe that's just maybe that's just like maybe there's a limited belief in my being that needs to be cleared, and then I won't feel like crap after I eat ice cream anymore. Well, we'll have to put a pin in that one. All right. Let's take a deep breath and just connect into our united field. We got 83 people. I just posted this live call on the Telegram like 15 minutes ago, so I'm really stoked that there's 80 people tuning in there, and there's 50 of us on the ESA live call. And so we're going to tune in to everyone. Hi, Mia. A wizard is never early and never late and always right on time. We're just going to tune into this field and feel the power of our love together. These beings who are on fire with the love of God and God's love for humanity. Right? Does it feel like there's any struggle here? Does it feel like there's any battle? Does it feel like we're gonna fight some, it almost feels like when I see videos of Klaus Schwab, for example, who's supposed to be this evil villain character. I'm like, oh man, he's kind of like one of these kind of cute, like he's trying to be an evil villain, but it's just kind of like, aw, he's really trying. He really believes that story and he really has to hold on to that narrative that he's running. It's really adorable. Yeah, May says this field is way more powerful than CERN and any of the silly intentions and timeline, sideways timeline intentions that they might have. And let's just zoom out a little bit and feel all of the galactic and cosmic allies, the angelics, our cosmic and galactic families that are hosting our experience from the higher dimensions. Alex says, I wonder what sort of kindergartner he was. Great question. It's unfortunate, but people in those statuses of power are usually groomed as children. So it's quite horrendous and unfortunate. So as we're tuning also into the beings that are holding this 12D and beyond Avatar Christ embodiment energy in other places in the world, on the Tibetan mountains, in South America, in the jungles, in the temples, in other places in the world who are not on this call right now, just connecting into our united field of Christ love. And we can feel this stability in our field that's already, it's almost like eating up the distortion field. I can feel the distorting field. It feels crunchy. That's the feeling that I'm getting. It's like as our grace filled energy is coming into contact with the distortion field, it's literally eating it up like a crunchy cookie. Whew. Now we're focused on expanding this force field of these original Christ qualities in our heart: divine love, faith. It's the faith that moves mountains, right? This ultimate gnosis of God. And this connection that we have to God inside of us, that all beings have inside of us, is something that the elites and the cabal are trying very hard to sever us from. You remember Biden's campaign slogan, right? Battle for the soul of the nation. I couldn't believe it. And that's what it was. It's been a battle for the soul of humanity. And the way that this battle occurs, this false matrix works, is by severing people from their inner connection to their soul, and through the soul, their connection to Christ and to creation and to God. He doesn't seem like he can do any battle. He's a pawn. And so we are establishing a strong field of gnosis to the divine, to God, through this love that we feel in our hearts for creation. If God is not a word that you resonate with, think nature, think life, think baby animals, right? All of life that exists in the world, this beautiful creation energy that gives life, gives rise to beauty and life. That is the force that we're connecting to. That is the force that I call God. Of course, that word has been, heavily distorted by other things, and I'm choosing to reclaim it. But that doesn't have to be your thing. You can connect to whatever represents that force of union, connection to creation inside of us. Yeah, now I'm gonna invite everyone to continue with this meditation, this connection. Allow it to guide you into your next actions throughout your day, right? And we can think about all the ways that this feeling has been with us our whole life. It might have nudged us, it may have tried to communicate with us, but all of these distortions and mind control programs and the false matrix may have made us feel like we're a weirdo, or we're taboo, or the religions made us rebellious and deny anything that is related to God. And so we're allowing this pure connection to true Christ energy, true creation energy, to dissolve and heal and resolve these conflicts inside of our being that were planted there. And that is the front line of the spiritual battle, right? In a sense, we first fight for our own humanity. We fight for our own humanity inside of us. And our humanity is our innate, organic connection to the divine as a emanation of the divine. And first we fight inside of ourselves for the full remembrance of that. And once we do that, once we win this battle and allow Source to once reclaim us, and be once more an innocent, joyful, reverent, divine child of the universe, feeling safe and held and nourished and provided for by the original source energies. Once we allow that to envelop us and set our souls on fire with love and fervence for the holiness of all creation, we allow that to drive our actions. We allow that to move us in our life. So I feel like this energy is almost like a fire extinguisher. We're just gonna dump it on the machine tomorrow, and it's gonna hopefully open a portal into the God realms and envelop this whole planet with source energy. We'll see what happens. Okay, so this is the, I guess this is the grounding. We're grounded in our connection to God. Grounded in our connection to divine love, peace, joy, faith, courage. And this is a level of intelligence that is far beyond the mind. We'll always know just what to do and just what to say and just what we need to do in our life to accomplish our mission. We don't need to see into the future, right? When the mind surrenders because it feels safe in the knowing that it's in union with this force, when we're grounded in this force, we allow infinite intelligence to operate through our beings, and we become the instrument of God. So let's breathe in this field together. Grounding in this field, celebrating, knowing that we're here together once again. Back again, baby. Probably try to kill us a few times. You think they just give up by now? How many times you gotta reincarnate? You know? As many times as it takes. Okay, so give me feedback because what I'm feeling in my body is that as this kind of grace, divine love, creation energy is coming into the field, I almost feel like there's this like earthquake sensation through the denser body, sometimes through the heart. Any places where separation and fear still was existing in the human body. And that is the parts of us that feel ungrounded, right? Feel agitated. Whew. Yeah, me too. I'm sweating. So let's go ahead and just land this energy that we're sharing together in the heart, in the earth, in the collective, almost as if we're magnetically pulling all geometries of this planet back into its right alignment. So any energetic flows which are in reversal spin, whew, restoring. The Christos realignment mission in action. Who is stoked? Whew. And one interesting thing about this energy is that, we're not like usually like when there's a battle, you think like people going into the battlefield killing each other. Like I don't actually feel like I want to kill any demons. Like I feel like I'm like, all right, kiddos, you can come back to the light if you want. It's not too late for you. Do you want a hug? Do you need a hug? I think you might need a hug. Oh, you still want to do that evil thing? It'll feel better if you just get a hug. Resolution. Stepping out of the victim victimizer cycles. Whew. Allowing the nightmares to dissolve. Not giving it energy by conflict, but literally allowing grace to giggle it away. Alex says that I noticed that a lot of evil is the shell protecting a wounded heart. And that's so interesting because I've been looking into that as well. Because in our lay body, so in ESA, we talk a lot about this process of incarnation, right? What we're experiencing is our soul incarnates into the physical body, and there's a lot of pathways of energy, a lot of mechanics that occurs. And just raising, Kara, she's coaching me on how to help her, how to hold space for her to bring her soul fully into her body. And through that, learning that I can go back in time and do that for myself and weave the strands and the filaments of light through my light body into the physical body and allow myself to incarnate into my body fully. But in that process, noticing that the places that incarnation doesn't happen properly, this happens through neglect, right? It made me so sad to know that kids are going to daycare sometimes at 4 months old. I mean, it blew my mind. It's actually quite a common occurrence. It's not unheard of, especially 20 years ago when there was no Zoom and people didn't get to work from home. And so when kids are not raised in an environment which is actually constantly flowing love through their body, through source, and through the veil into this world, light doesn't fully incarnate. Harlan says, I just learned about Ishmael Perez and he's got a ton of interviews and he posted on IG that CERN is under white hat control and there's nothing to worry about tomorrow. And that it's just fear mongering and have no fear. And we talked about this earlier in the beginning of this call. I've heard the white hats being in control in just about everything now. And hopefully they would have canceled Stranger Things and not, implanted satanic ideology into kids. But that happened in real life. So, I think we should just take everything with a grain of salt. And I think at the end of the day, it's not about fear, it's about our right orientation. Okay, so I want you to pay attention to right orientation when you listen to people talk, people that are leading, quote unquote, leading other people, telling people information and intel. What orientation are they telling you to be in? Oh, just don't worry about it, right? Don't look at it. Is it actually bringing us towards productivity and completion and mastery, embodiment, alignment, divine love? Yeah, and I have a hard time with, white hats this, like the vaccines, for example. I remember people were saying like, oh, the vaccines are were taken over and they're good now. Like they're using it to wake people up. And I was like, what are you talking about? But it doesn't really matter because, like there's just levels to our awareness, right? There's levels to the vibrations that we are existing in. And at the end of the day, that's the only thing. That's what matters. It's about our orientation. It's about the geometry of our heart star. Is about how much cosmic love can excrete or accrete. I mean, it can accrete through your light body and through your body, through your being, through your existence. And not this fluffy kind of, oh, I love you. Oh, wait, you're not happy? Okay, well, okay, bye. Never mind. I don't want to, you're not love and light. I gotta go. Right? I just want to be somewhere and eat fruits and, you know, no. Divine love doesn't cower in the face of distortion. It doesn't try to fight it. I mean, I'm not trying to battle any pedophiles or anything like that. It's just that when they're in the presence of this divine love, we command it to kneel, right? Because, and there's like I feel like because of the religious trauma that we have experienced, many people feel this rebellion towards quote unquote submitting to a greater force. And so for me, it feels more of like a surrendering and an alignment and a humility. Whew. Yeah, and so pay attention to the holy fire inside of you and pay attention to what is putting it out, right? And what is putting us into complacency and what is turning it on. Because we got to turn it on, turn the lights on and get the job done. Yeah. And I think that through these fields, I mean, there's just, we have to think to ourselves, what do we want to experience in this lifetime? What do we want to experience in this lifetime? I am here for the people that are here to experience the highest level of Christ embodiment as possible. Because that's what I'm here to experience. And that's what gives my life meaning and what makes me jump out of bed in the morning and go, woohoo! because that's the most exciting thing. And that's not for everyone. It's a special kind of nerd, right? I mean, for some people, that's snowboarding. And for other people, it's, picking fruits. I don't know. Whatever it is, whatever turns you on, do that thing. And for me, this is what turns me on. And I'm here with the legion of angels who are here to roll like that. All right, fam jam. How y'all feeling? Nice. Lucy, we gotta go for lunch sometime. We go to Chelsea all the time. There's that amazing breakfast place that has an amazing patio. That's our spot. I know, that's where we go. Oh gosh. I'm gonna let's see. All right, family. So the Sirian um Starlight sound chamber is coated with these frequencies, is mostly coated with divine love, and you know, it creates this force field. It's created to heal the heart star. And so these are the codes that are ingrained inside of that sound chamber. And so you're welcome to use that sound chamber today and leading up to tomorrow. And then I'm not exactly sure how it's going to go tomorrow, but we're planning on meeting at 9:30 Eastern time. Um, the Zoom link is posted in the Gridwork group and it's also on the ESA platform.